Television. I come here to talk about the process of dispensaries. When Avalon's opened, there was a big article in the paper. I went down and took video of it. I went to the business license office here in the county. They told me that county council directed them not to take an application or issue a license. I asked them where could I file a complaint. They referred me to the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department referred me to public health. So I filed a complaint with public health, Stacy Cryer, and she was going to forward that on. I had subsequently heard today that that complaint is being held until after you decide what you're going to do. I forwarded a copy of this complaint to the Department of Justice, and I basically asked them a copy of the letter they sent out to all the property owners that were allowing dispensaries, and I made sure all you had it. And it basically says it's a violation of federal law to knowingly and intentionally rent, lease, or make available for use with or without compensation a building, room, or enclosure for the purpose of unlawful manufacturing, storing, distribution, or using of controlled substances. I subsequently went to the county and found out who the parcel owner was of that dispensary location. I went to those Sahal tires down here at the corner, talked to one brother, gave him a copy of this letter, and indicated I had filed a complaint. And I had forwarded that complaint to the Department of Justice. I still have other remedies. It depends what you're going to do today. I can file legal actions because it's a nuisance. The county can do it. You know, the bottom line is this. Since I started the initiative as an individual to try and address these issues that the board found difficult over the years, I have got all sorts of heat, pressure, and so forth, and that's fine. I mean, just within the last day or so, I got 10 calls that I'm sure Richard Johnson put them up to. All these people who wanted dispensaries or whatever, and many of them, I couldn't even understand them. They were under the influence. I just want to let you know that my initiative is still going. My last two signatures were Marvin Basel and James Eddy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lisa, please step forward and state your name for the record. Following this speaker, Donna Frank.
You didn't want to try my last name again?
No, I didn't.
Gygax.
Gygax. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you for your time. I bring with me a little good news on this subject, which is a rare thing. I'm aware that you went to every single level of government trying to get a response. Well, Donna Frank and I go to every level of government all the time. And Congressman Conyers on the Judiciary Committee on December 7th began an investigation of the DEA's letters against landlords as an obstruction of state public process. And really, they're going outside of their jurisdiction when they're actually trying to destroy a state process. Senator Carol Migden, who's also stepped to the plate, and Chairwoman Betty Yee of the State Board of Equalization, who's aware that this is about a minimum $200 million loss to California over sales tax, are putting forward a joint resolution to the Assembly and the State Senate to support Conyers in the investigation and to say that the stance is that we need to do our process as state, county, and local authorities without the interference of the DEA and intimidation tactics. We have a modified one we're hoping that you might consider adopting to support Conyers and Migden in that. I'd like to present that now for you. I know that it's not on point, but it's the same subject, so I thought I'd put it all in. Now I'm going to go to your ordinance. Evidence of existing dispensaries could be found at Americans with Safe Access listing of existing dispensaries and the normal website. Oaksterdam News always kept a listing, so it would actually be very easy to prove that these businesses existed and advertised prior to January 1st. I'm hoping that you don't do a ban because it drives people underground and it makes people not want to cooperate with local law enforcement and local authorities in general. I believe that your ordinance is too harsh because it shuts out rural areas and then it causes a gray area in what is 20 clients a day. If somebody just parks outside and counts 20 people, what if it's a staff member, an applicant to become an employee, a person verifying some sort of a proof of a recommendation, somebody delivering a clone, a patient cultivator? So that 20 is a weird number because who's going to monitor it? I think it puts too much on the sheriff's office to monitor that. And with a limit of 3 dispensaries, you create the pressure and nuisance of everybody going to those 3. So I think the intent is very good. This board has worked very hard, but you don't have an urgent need. You don't have a plethora of these going on. Perhaps a task force and a couple of modifications, and I think you have a great document. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Donna Frank. I'm sorry.
Brief comment, please, through the chair. To the last speaker, I appreciate your the information you provided us, because I think this is really on point with the bigger issue that we need to deal with, especially getting the California State Legislature involved in the concept of marijuana in general, but specifically medical marijuana. We did add that language to that effect to our legislative platform this morning for the state level, so we can begin to engage them on, I think, a responsibility that they're not taking vis-a-vis the lengthy discussions we've had here with things that I don't think are really within the purview of Mendocino County. They would be more appropriately handled at the state level. So I appreciate receiving this, and I think at a future time, since it's not an action item today, the board could consider where would this be appropriately placed within a committee, and is this something the board would like to take action on to support something such as this Senate joint resolution. I haven't had a chance, of course, to read it, but
I'm hoping that you do it immediately to support Conyers, because these things are going to happen immediately. Just today, the DEA receives their budget, so the raids will begin. There hasn't been a raid since December 18th. The joint resolution to the Senate and the Assembly, it's the first time the word dispensary has actually been included as an intent of the Health and Safety Code for collectives. This is very significant because we're always seeing this gray area, well, dispensary is not said, so it will be said. So we're anxious on the vote, and I will keep you posted on when it goes up before each house.
Thank you.
And those results.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you. Ms. Donna Frank, followed by Tom Davenport, please.
Hi, everybody. Donna Frank. And Supervisor Pinches and I, we're thinking on the same. I really think that you have 2 choices today that neither one of them works. It's whether you'd like to drink poison or eat glass. I believe that Tom from MMAB, that when he recommended a citizens advisory group, again, I think that that's a great idea. What I'd like to reiterate, I've said this so many times at so many of the criminal justice meetings, it took us a year to put Cotati together. Cotati's a small city. We had people from planning, we had the police chief, we had dispensary operators, we had advocacy groups, we had opponents. We had a group of about 8 people, and we worked on it. We made a commitment to work on the dispensary ordinance, and the dispensary ordinance works. Imagine this, I have clients, by the way, I'm living proof that dispensaries work. I have had 0 police calls, not one. The bar, Club 7, you can Google this, down the street, that's been open for a year and a half, has had over 500 police calls, and they're finally trying to close them down right now. But, oh gosh, no, I lost my train of thought. I hate that. But I'm living proof that it does work. And one of the things that was so important with the State Board of Equalization Chairwoman, Betty Yee, is that the state is about to lose $200 million a year in revenue, and this is a revenue maker for your county in tax money. And as Lisa Gygax mentioned too, I would like to know the reason why people believe that they would want to ban the dispensaries and have people go back onto the street, especially if they're sick. One of the people who just spoke, what he did, that letter that he wrote to the Department